Hi, I'm Gary Allen and welcome to a new project. For us today, not one, but 7 homes. We're going to give a designer's touch to this community planting on today's Designer's Landscape. Why don't we show you some of the unique characteristics about this community. Now, the builder has gone really somewhat above and beyond to make this community a wonderful place to visit as well as live. And so he's used brick paver patios and steps even on the sidewalks. And so what we suggested is to come in with another community joint walk that connects this sidewalk to the street. Now, we're on a new construction project, so bear with us on the noises and sounds, if you will. What I like is every home here on the road is independent or individual looking. Now, when it comes to landscape, do we want to continue the individual look? No, not really. That's why we're here, to draw the picture together. Let's let every home stand out and stand alone, but we will take the same community tree planting, the same shrubs, and that concept, so that when something is blooming, when something is flowering, when we have seasonal color, it will tie the community in across the street and across barriers rather than making them look individual or too independent. So that's the landscape concept. Now, as you look down the walkway, would it be easy to just come in with this rectangle, fill it full of turf grass, and just straight plants along the house? No, we can do better than that. You see, even this other connection to the street, we want to incorporate some plantings, avenue or street trees that also give us impact, some enclosure, some shade, and really, like we said, impact to this whole neighborhood. They're trying to encourage walking traffic. There will be some shops installed right close by here, so we know neighbors and friends will enjoy using the community walks here as well as, the street. Well, what do you say we look at a landscape plan? I did a layout for a concept that we can apply to this sidewalk planting. Now, rather than a full detailed plan, I did what we call a half plan. And I started coloring it. I just didn't complete it. So I've colored all the driveway and sidewalks in gray. And this is the community walk that we've talked about and just visited. 3 units on one side, and then 4 on the side that we came from. And this is, if you come in closer, I can show you that rather than sod these stiff square areas, look how we're using curves to round off that thought process. And then even between the units, you see the same curvilinear process is going to help add continuity from one side to the next rather than these following the stiff square lines that the construction of the home, the porches, the sidewalks and driveway kind of leave us with. So again, we've got use of 30-gallon trees, 15-gallon trees, and our larger 65-gallon community trees that we're going to move out here into the right-of-way. Well, I even have a detailed color plan of one of the units that we're going to add a brick paver patio to in a kind of a courtyard feel. Let me put it up to the window. We'll light it up. Now, the brick paver area that we connected to the street with the sidewalk is here. And so again, you see how we're going to use ground covers. It would be nice to have something colorful there for the community, as we mentioned. And remember, we offset them from the entrances to the porch and sidewalk to each home. And again, we're trying to round off those stiff, straight corners. We kind of continue that all the way to the backyard, where on this one, to make a courtyard feeling, we'll have a circular brick paver patio. You can connect it from the side entry here or right off the back porch. And that'll be attractive, but see how we're still continuing that flow feeling, if you will, all the way around to cover the air conditioners and even with a little street tree planting here at the back. Now, the patio that I just drew is right here. this is the unit. So we really need some major privacy in here. Builder has decided to put in a 6 to 8 foot fence that'll privatize, well, you're in the main living area, from this home and the entrance here that will consider quite a bit of traffic. And that's our goal too, to decorate it from the window sides so that we really have a nice view instead of just a fence. Now we've got some other considerations for windows on the other side of the house. You see, the houses being so close together, where we have a blank wall, we're not that concerned with. It's when we get over here where we look from window to window. We need some dressing, a tree that'll help buffer both sides. Now, in between the units, again, we've got this limited space, so we really need to give accessibility. And so we thought, again, you can see this tree is going to help screen this window here. Matter of fact, it does a double roll there, both left and right. And so really simple grass in here, irrigation systems, and you see the holly tree. Well, this is a Japanese plum tree that'll keep its leaves year round. Every unit also gets a crepe myrtle. So we've chosen a beautiful purple color, a single trunk crepe myrtle rather than a multi-stem. Nice shape. Also, every unit will get a Japanese blueberry, you see right here. Another holly tree. Come on out and we'll talk about the plants that we're ready to install. Now for a little bit of variety, we've chose to use some of the 3-gallon Sago palms. These will make a distinct impression. And then also for a low grower is our Nandina Harbor Dwarf. This will work great close to the sidewalks. It'll take the heat out there in the street. A dependable needlepoint green holly. We've got some low growing green pits, but look at the flower color on this camellia, Rosa plena. In the middle of the winter season here, it has a beautiful showy flower that is really only going to get bigger and better as they grow. So we'll use these in some areas where we need some taller shrubs. We've got the Aztek grass for contrast and color. And by the way, we've gone through a heavy freeze here already. You can see a little bit of tip burn there, but the lower petalum is cold hardy. Look how tough it is. Finally, we move into some of the blue-green, a Procumbens juniper that stays nice and low, dependable. And finally, look at the winter fall color we have on the fashion azalea. It has a shrimp color bloom twice a year, but I really like the purplish hue to the foliage this time of year. And finally, as our avenue planting, our street tree, to keep in theme with the community, the live oak is used, semi-deciduous, so it keeps some winter presentation, if you will. Looks good year round. Now, we've set a couple lines of shrubs up just to show you what we're not going to do. I mean, it's okay, friends, but we have the tendency to mimic and imitate what the sidewalk gives us and what a house gives us. I mean, we turned the corner here with 2 shrubs, the needlepoint holly and the fashion azalea. But again, we have the tendency to want to line things up, especially with the small size of these yards. Turf grass wise, it's very minimal. So we really have to work a little harder, if you will, to make the curves be more impressionable. Inside here, I've marked out where a fence will go, a little 4-foot fence, turn the corner, stay open. It moves all the way down across the front entrance. And so, again, we want impact here at our little community joint. So with the corner of the fence, let me back up a little bit, because what I want to do is bring turf grass, even if it's in this little area, and have the bed jump across this community planting. So this is where something nice and low and impacty will go in to soften the corner of the fence. A community street tree planting here, but you see we're trying to emphasize that roundness, that smooth curve. If you recall, the fence comes all the way over here, turns the corner about 4 feet. So this will be open. Now this is where we go from one property to the next. And so rather than have a straight line dividing hedge or anything to break it up, we want continuity. Again, we want this a nice line existing. So with the corner of the fence, I'm going to go to the street and we'll pull a curved radius of turf grass, jump over the walk, something like that. Now what that will allow us to soften this corner of the fence with plants. On the other property side, I don't have to worry about this grass line being right in the center. Matter of fact, we're going to off-center it a little bit. Widen this bed big enough to make an impression. You see what we're doing here? Again, a corner, and we've got plants, plants, sod, and sod in here that rounds all the way towards the other entrance. Now jumping across the other side of the street, we've got a similar scenario with the fact that they have their front entrance here, but these have driveways, these three, where the other drives are in the back. So again, front yard to front. That's why some of these community trees are going to help cushion just from looking out your front porch right into your neighbor's view. We have our irrigation stubbed up. Our nozzles have to be set, and some heads have to be set there. What I want to do in this case, we've got our street tree installed, our oak, and I'll jump across the walkway here. I mean, certainly you couldn't imagine putting turf grass in here, so plants are going to help, again, balance the entranceway. And turf grass on my side. I'm drawing the plant bed to your right and redrawing or re-outlining where I drew it here. So we kind of come out in a curved pattern, running our plants in a curved pattern to soften the porch. We want low and dwarf material here, nothing growing big and bulky. We actually want to accent the spindles in the porch. So this is what it looks like before. Let's go catch up with one that's almost done. So in essence, what we've just drawn over there, we have completed here. In other words, the grass line and bed line start at the street curb, continue all the way around in a smooth curve radius, easy to mow, so we're not blocking or locking ourselves off. We're trying to create some depth out of these short entrances. And also here at the entrance, the brick paver patio is balanced with plants. Now, we have Aztek grass, holly, and low juniper here. We're not going to use this same plant combination next door, but we might use it across the street at an angle. The sights and sounds of a new construction site. What that tells us is progress is being made, and we've made some progress here too. You remember just moments ago when we drew these lines. With the sod installed now, things are looking better with it being mulched out. Now, the fence still has to come in here, and that'll separate bed inside for low maintenance, no maintenance, and the turf out here that'll have to be mowed regularly. But I get this all the time, friends. Gary, how come you do maybe these big elaborate jobs? Friends, this is row housing and very small, tight properties. Here's the point. The same concepts apply. Specimen or patio trees or shade trees. And in this case, curves and plants that still do the same thing. Look at the loropetalum here, how they're curved or radiated in a circle rather than straight down the porch and around the corner. And then I like the way the Aztek mirrors that as well. We're using color and contrast and considering low maintenance. Things are looking better all the time. Now, you remember too, we drew how the grass was going to kind of match us up here. So from the street, we'll jump over the walk in an easy to mow curved turf grass, lawn on the inside where you are, more bedding material behind me, and we'll end up curving in a nice radius that takes us all the way to the front door. So naturally the line comes toward you, jumping over the walk again, and we had these 3 sagos in place. We had to pull one up because our street tree, the live oak, goes into place here. And so I want to install that again just outside. We want it inside the bed. Unfortunately, we'll end with a little thin patch of turf here. That's really what we have is what we have there. Come on up close, because even from nurseries, plants can end up being potted a little too deep, and I like to make sure that we're not installing this bulb too deep. So you see where there was some earth in here, but now since this plant has been installed and we pulled it back up, you can really examine the root system.
not a problem. It'll do really well. There's enough soil there. But knocking this away and installing it at this new height is really going to be beneficial for the long term of the plant. So let me put this one in the ground. Not much of a hole is needed. I'm going to kind of tuck him up under the oak here, hold him by his ponytail, and make sure, number one, that he's not installed too deep, but left up just a little bit, and then mulch will go right up around there. The bed line continues around, jumps over the walk again, and as you can see, lines up here, blending this turf grass with the next lawn. Now we're making use of evergreen specimens, trees like this, like the holly, to use on these void areas, like this big old tall garage. We can't afford a lot of plants in here because of the size of the width of the property line, so a little bed there. But again, doesn't that make a nice statement? Come on through and we'll show you how close these units are together and how they're placed with these zero lot lines. And so that's why, again, placing these trees for out the window, off the breakfast nook here. This is the neighboring tree, but look how, if you lived here, you would get the benefit from this. An evergreen as well, this Eriobatria japonica, the Japanese plum. Friends, that's a 15-gallon tree, and what a beautiful specimen. I mean, he's already 8 or so feet tall, clear trunk with just lower plants underneath. Well, from the one unit, here we are already at the second. These covered walkways and little patios give rise to this little courtyard feeling, if you will. And so come on in here because we'll place, again, on this wall, we've got the AC, so we may place a tree here. We've got a couple more 15 gallons, and then the magnolias to help soften or screen in this area. Again, so homeowners can view really something pleasing for them while they're walking around the windows. Now, if they added night light or landscape lighting to the picture, that could be very nice. I'm going to take you around where one patio has been installed. We'll take a look at that. Things are being wrapped up on this unit, irrigation going in, and we need to do some additional grading. But look at how the patio is going to help this little courtyard setting. There's more distance between the garage and the house, and so we thought it would be interesting to provide an entrance onto the patio both here and off the back porch or back door. Naturally, the French curve or circular shape helps things from being so boxy, since we have 2 square buildings and these rectangular or just straight lines. Now there's one thing here, I wish the guys would have recessed this a little more, because you can see with this steep fall off, now we've got to bring more dirt in here to fill up, where if the patio had been a little recessed, well, we'd already be graded. So this is going to require just a little more work. We did install a patio on the unit across the street. Let's go look at that. Now we've got you up on the back porch showing you this patio installation, and really with the limited size of the back porches, this adds to the outdoor living area or space for a homeowner here with limited backyard. Look how the neighbors behind me have put a screened enclosure around there. So keep out of the bugs up top, and then open up really to enjoy, well, say a beautiful day like today, patio furniture, and really, again, increasing this outdoor living space. On the back wall here, between these 2 windows, we'll install a East Palatka holly tree. And what I've noticed is the bad side, or the back, was a little weak. We'll turn him against the wall so that we have a little more presentation, if you will, facing us. Now, again, the patio touches to the steps that go up on the porch. We've used the dwarf pit there, and underneath here, another nice planting with the juniper. This is looking good. Now we've used some of the camellias back here on the backdrop, and we'll have to look at this. I was thinking that the homeowner is going to really want to maybe cheat through here. In other words, going from here down to the lawn, because the patio does kind of drop off a little bit. Now that you're up close, let's really talk about this magnolia tree. you may not even thought it was a magnolia. Why? Because of the size of the leaf. This is, trying to think of the name, Little Jim. Now, this is a dwarf magnolia. That may sound hard to believe. I remember thinking years ago, but the size of magnolias, the way they get 60 to 70 to 80 feet tall, this one we know is going to be more dwarf in nature. Now, the mags grow kind of slow too, so we don't expect this to just blow up in this space, but the leaf is the indicator. The regular magnolia leaf, wow, I mean, it's just about this size. So smaller leaf usually, in many cases, can denote a dwarf plant, and in this case, a dwarf tree. How does this come about? Well, let's say a regular magnolia tree all of a sudden sends out a shoot that has this dwarf nature to the leaf. Then they take that cutting, if you will, propagate it or root it, and it has to go through 3 generations at least to stabilize or be a new patented or new variety. And in this case, well, you see a little white dust on here, that's all, but a beautiful glossy green foliage that's really year-round. Now you see the flower too also, huh? What do you think? Actually, magnolias have white flowers, don't they? That is a camellia bloom that I stuck on there just to tease you. But I really enjoy the camellias too. This will have what'll be a smaller than normal white magnolia flower, usually in the summertime. So again, you won't be able to find this variety everywhere. There's only a few growers that I know that carry it, Carolinas and Northeast Florida here for us. But as you've observed the specs on the magnolia, it tells you whether it'll do good or be hardy for your neck of the woods or part of the country in which you live. Kind of going through what we've done here again, or to back up, use of African iris. Now these are smaller than normal ones. We like to find them when they're a little bit larger than this. This is early spring, so we're just getting into some of our varieties. But you can tell how these will mass or grow together. We balanced them on both sides so they can fill the corner and have that white iris flower. Then underneath here, the green pits. Really, what a dependable green glossy foliage that we have to utilize here. Against the light cream color of the house, a darker, if we have a light color house, the dark green or dark foliage works best. And you hear us talking about evergreen trees. Well, like the holly would fall into that category. We don't mean evergreen like conifers or pines or junipers. We mean that they keep their foliage year-round rather than being deciduous and dropping their leaves. And then finally, well, look at the camellias. Blooming and kind of dropping their blooms here. Spring is very close. Oh, by the way, if you have questions on plants or trees you've seen us use today on the Designer's Landscape, feel free to contact us on the web at GaryAllen.com. Well, I think you know what comes next. Why don't we take a progressive look at how we've put together this community landscape? Put the curves to work in your landscape. You'll enjoy it. I'll see you next time.